Hello everyone. Welcome to the session on Principles of Management for 5th semester BTech students. Myself Sarita V, Assistant Professor, Department of Basic Sciences and Humanities, Rajagiri School of Engineering and Technology. In this session, I will be discussing management theories, which is a topic in the module 2. The contents of this class are as follows. First, I will discuss the relevance of understanding management theories, and later I will brief on a few management theories. Let us first understand and reflect on the relevance of learning the subject from the grassroots level. Learning and understanding the evolution of management thinking is possible if we try to explore the early development theories in management. Not only in management, but for any discipline, it is relevant to understand the evolution of subject. Now why? Let us see in detail. A historical perspective provides a broader way of thinking. That is, a way of searching for similar situations and determining whether such patterns reoccur across time periods. Getting acquainted with the past contributes to understanding the present and future, and it contributes to further learning and unlearning of several aspects from various dimensions. This further improves the organizational activities in future. However, studying history doesn't mean merely arranging events in chronological order. It means developing an understanding of the impact of societal forces on organizations. Management philosophies and organizational forms change over time to meet new ends. You may find certain old management practices that are still followed effectively. Also, you can find many old practices in a reformed way. Some management practices will not be effective in meeting certain emergency situations, and so on. There are many examples. Therefore, understanding the evolution of management thinking is relevant. Let us now dig deep into this. You can find a major paradigm shift in the way organizational thinking evolved as a result of Industrial Revolution during the 18th century. The production techniques, application of standardized methods of production, the invention of steam engine, which facilitated factor mobility and extended market reach. As the market reach increased, the demand for goods and services shot up, and the techniques of mass production and labor productivity were dealt with in the 1880s. Later on, the invention of computers and various computational techniques in the 20th century completely transformed the development trajectory of organizations all around the world. This again took a paradigm shift when cyber-physical systems took in its entrance, which we refer to it as the Fourth Industrial Revolution. All these changes across the world, along with social, political, and economic forces, have influenced organizations and the practice of management. At the same time, the management practices and perspectives vary in response to these social, political, and economic forces in the larger society. Now, these changes have paved way for various schools of thoughts in management. About 150 years ago, the railroad revolution transformed the economy. Today, the internet revolution is doing the same thing. The factory system that began to appear in the 1800s posed challenges that earlier organizations had not encountered. In the 1880s to the 1930s, we had the classical school of management supporting the bureaucratic, scientific, and administrative way of managing the organization. Later on, in the 1920s to the 1950s, it slowly changed to a behavioral approach where human relations were emphasized. This school of thought was referred to as the neoclassical school of thought. As time passed by, the organizations evolved into complex systems where it had interconnections with multiple stakeholders. Hence, we had the modern school of thought, which included the systems approach to thinking in management in the 1970s. Far different from this scenario, we have learning organizations now, where we have global organizations dealing with a diverse pool of employees, which deals with disruptive technologies, managing pandemic atmosphere, and so on. Let us now briefly go through some of the management theories. The classical theories of management were put forward by Max Weber, F. W. Taylor, and Henry Fayol. When Weber supported a bureaucracy or a bureaucratic type of management, Taylor suggested standardization and scientific techniques. On the other hand, Fayol put forward the importance of human resource management. So in this session, we will learn about the ideas put forward by F. W. Taylor. Frederick Winslow Taylor, known as the father of scientific management, believed that the organizational task should be observed and standardized methods should be adopted to improve the productivity of workers and thereby increase the output. His study was called as a time and motion study. Taylor put forward his scientific principles where he believed in the philosophy of approaching organizational activities with a scientific study. According to him, in the past the man has been first, but in future the system must be first. Let us try to understand some of the principles laid down by Taylor. The first principle is about replacing the rule of thumb with science. That is, to develop a science for each element of the job to replace old rule of thumb methods. The second principle is the scientific selection and training. That is, scientifically select employees and train them to do the job as per the standardized method. The third principle is mental revolution. It says that to supervise employees to make sure they follow the prescribed methods for performing their job. The fourth principle is about the differential wage system where each worker was paid based on his productivity. Taylor worked out an incentive system that paid each man $1.85 a day for meeting the new standard and increased from the previous rate of $1.15. The fifth principle is the division of labor, where an entire task was divided among the workers and each group will specialize in the assigned portion of the task. This in turn saves time and increases output. The scientific principles put forward by Taylor had a large-scale influence on the industrial setup. Henry Ford was one of the industrialists who followed Taylor's principles and found it very effective. Two other important pioneers in this area, that is in scientific management, were the husband and wife team of Frank B. and Lillian M. Gilbreth. They supported the scientific principles laid down by Taylor. But Lillian, who was an engineer cum industrial psychologist, was more interested in the human aspect of work. So their work came to be known as the work and motion study, where they not only concentrated on the efficiency and productivity of the worker by implementing standardized techniques, but also took into consideration the worker training and development. Their method was called as the Terblick analysis. George Elton Mayo, who was a critic of the scientific principles and standardized methods, criticized classical management principles. The work of Mayo paved way for the human relations movement. The human relations school of thought considers that truly effective control comes out from within the individual worker rather than from strict authoritarian control. The basic assumption of the human relation movement was that managers' concern for workers would lead to increased satisfaction, which would in turn result in improved performance. Then a series of studies at a Western Electrical Company in Chicago, which came to be known as the Hawthorne studies, resulted in a series of experiments that proved Mayo right. Let us go through some of these experiments. The illumination experiment was conducted in order to see if there is a change in productivity of workers by changing the intensity of light. This experiment was indeed a failure since there was no change in productivity. The variation in the intensity of light did not have any impact on the productivity of workers. The second experiment was a relay assembly test room experiment. 6 women worked in this relay assembly test room during the controversial experiments on employee productivity. Professors Mayo and his team evaluated conditions such as rest breaks and workday length, physical health, amount of sleep and diet, etc. Experimental changes were fully discussed with the women and were abandoned if they disapproved. Gradually, the researchers began to realize that they had created a change in supervisory style and human relations, which they believed was the true cause of increased productivity. Employees performed better when managers treated them in a positive manner. The third experiment was interviewing the workers. Of about 20,000 workers were personally interviewed to find out workers' attitudes and sentiments towards work. The team initially used the method of direct questioning and changed it to non-directive. The result was that it gave an opportunity to talk and express grievances that increased the morale of the workers. It was also found that the satisfaction of the workers depended upon how they regarded their social status in the company. Also, informal groups within the company created a huge impact on their work. Here also, human element aspect contributed to their productivity. The fourth experiment was the bank wiring room experiment, which was conducted to see if there is any influence of peer group on worker productivity within the company. It was found that the social or peer groups within the company did have their own standards of output, and this peer pressure was utilized to produce output. The group had its own unofficial standards of performance. Hence, it was proved that the informal groups played an important role in the working of an organization. Thus, the Hawthorne experiments were successful enough to prove that business organizations are basically social systems, and the concept is much wider. The Hawthorne experiments marked a significant step forward in human behavior and are regarded as one of the most important social science investigations and said to be the foundations of relations approach to management and the development of organizational behavior. The classification of workers into two categories as X and Y was put forward by Douglas McGregor. Theory X assumes that people dislike work and must be punished, controlled, and directed towards organizational goals. Furthermore, most people prefer to be treated this way so they can avoid responsibility. Therefore, an authoritative type of management style has to be followed towards this particular group. Theory Y emphasizes that the average individual has an interest in his work and has a desire to be self-directing and to seek responsibility, and he builds his capacity to be creative in solving business problems. Hence, a manager can adopt a participative style of management towards these group. Theory Z by William Aki is a result of detailed research of American and Japanese style of management. Aki wrote a book called Theory Z, that is, How American Business Can Meet the Japanese Challenge in 1981. In his book, Aki shows how American corporations can meet the Japanese challenges with a highly effective management style that promises to transform business in the 1980s. Theory Z is a hybrid management approach combining Japanese management philosophies with that of US culture. The secret to Japanese success, according to Aki, is not technology but a special way of managing people. This is a managing style that focuses on a strong company philosophy, a distinct corporate culture, long-range staff development, and consensus in decision-making. Style of management. By the 1980s, Japan was known for the highest productivity anywhere in the world, while America's productivity had fallen drastically. This actually led Aki to think of the reason behind this low productivity. The assumptions of Theory Z were a strong company philosophy and culture, which says that the company philosophy and culture need to be understood and embodied by all employees, and employees need to believe in the work they are doing. Long-term staff development and employment says that the organization and management team need to have measures and programs in place to develop employees. Consensus in decision making, it says that employees are encouraged and expected to take part in organizational decision. Generalist employees implies that because employees have a greater responsibility in making decisions and understand all aspects of the organization, they ought to be generalists. However, employees are still expected to have specialized career responsibility. Concern for the happiness and well being of the workers. The organization shows sincere concern for the health and happiness of its employees and their families. Informal control with formalized measures. Employees are empowered to perform tasks the way they see fit, and management is quite hands off. However, there should be formalized measures in place to assess work quality and performance. Individual responsibility. The organization recognizes the individual contribution but always within the context of the team as a whole. Slow promotion, job rotation, job security, and trust are other principles. Why Aki suggests so slow promotion is because frequent incentives and promotion makes the employees more ambitious. Job rotation involves the movement of employees through a range of jobs in order to increase interest and motivation. Job rotation can improve multi-skilling but also involves the need for greater training. The Japanese theory Z approach believes that people are far too valuable resource to be lost when the economy has a downturn. In a recession, the Japanese do not fire people, they will reduce their hours until things pick up. The Japanese feels that you should never give up people a reason to distrust you. Loyalty is expected of all employees.
Well, that was an overview of the ideas, theories, and management philosophies that have contributed to the making of the workplace what it is today. Some have changed, but some practices are still practiced. A brief overview of these theories and its understanding helps an engineering student to understand the evolution of management ideas. Thank you.